Monday, April 15th, here in Seoul.
Coming up on NEWSCENTER tonight. President Moon Jae-in officially proposes a fourth round of inter-Korean summit, with the time of the meeting being whenever North Korea is ready.
North Korea celebrates the 107th birthday of the regime's founder, Kim Il-sung, with no military parade in sight. A possible sign Pyongyang wants to keep denuclearization talks alive.
Cash-strapped Kumho Asiana Group sells its stake in South Korea's #2 carrier, Asiana Airlines, after failing to convince creditors of its restructuring plan.
The Moon Jae-in administration vows to invest over $26 billion in infrastructure projects over the next 3 years to boost social and leisure services. NEWSCENTER begins now.
Hello and welcome to Arirang NEWSCENTER, live from Seoul. I'm Hangang.
And I'm Do-aram. Thank you, as always, for joining us this evening. President Moon Jae-in has expressed his hopes for another summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un.
He says he hopes to sit down with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un whenever the North is ready for detailed discussions on the denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. Our Park Hee-jun leading us off tonight.
President Moon Jae-in says there should be another inter-Korean summit soon.
이제 남북 정상회담을 본격적으로 준비하고 추진할 시점입니다. 북한도 대화를 지속하겠다는 의지를 보여주었습니다.
During Monday's cabinet meeting, he commented for the first time on North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's speech at the Supreme People's Assembly. He said Kim reaffirmed his commitment to achieving peace and denuclearization on the Korean peninsula and sitting down for the third time with U.S. President Donald Trump. Moon said Kim has also shown his willingness to implement inter-Korean agreements, and he called for a fourth inter-Korean summit when the North is ready.
북한의 형편이 되는 대로 장소와 형식에 구애되지 않고 남과 북이 마주 앉아 두 차례의 북미 정상회담을 넘어서는 진전된 결실을 맺을 방안에 대해 구체적이고 실질적인 논의를 할 수 있기를 바랍니다.
The South Korean president also said he and President Trump agreed to work together to bring North Korea back to the nuclear negotiations. They also reaffirmed the importance of top-down diplomacy based on the trust and determination of the leaders themselves for the peace process on the Korean peninsula. There was, however, no mention of any plans to send a special envoy to North Korea. But President Trump has asked President Moon to let him know Pyongyang's stance as soon as possible. And with the South Korean president ready to meet Kim, it's possible that the trip could take place during his three-nation Central Asia tour, which begins Tuesday. President Moon has officially put a fourth inter-Korean summit on the table. Sending a special envoy to Pyongyang will accelerate preparations for the summit, which will also lead to further progress on his peace drive on the Korean peninsula, something he says is a matter of survival. Park Hee-jun, Arirang News.
North Korea quietly celebrated the birth of its founder, dubbed the Day of the Sun today, a stark comparison to a few years ago when it had grabbed global headlines with its display of military force. Many experts here in South Korea see it as a sign of its willingness to continue the dialogue with the U.S. Kim Ji-yeon tells us more.
Considered one of the biggest national holidays, North Korea normally celebrates April 15th as the Day of the Sun, the anniversary of the birth of Kim Jong-un's grandfather, the country's late founder, Kim Il-sung. This year, the late Kim would have been 107, but South Korea's defense ministry said that as of Monday morning, there were no signs of a military parade for the occasion. There have been suspicions among some, including the U.S. think tank, the Center for Strategic and International Studies, that the North might carry out a military show of force either on the April 15th anniversary or another one on the 25th for the foundation of the North Korean People's Army. But the relative silence in the North this time says a lot. An expert says it's another sign of North Korea's willingness to talk.
Despite the deadlock after the Hanoi summit, North Korea has refrained from hostile acts that could irritate the other party, signaling that it is willing to hold another summit with the U.S.
At this time of year in 2016, North Korea test-fired what was presumed to be an intermediate-range ballistic missile, followed by a large-scale military parade the following year. Last year, though, when the two Koreas were holding their own summits, North Korea scaled down these celebrations into cultural and sporty events. To mark the occasion this year, North Korea's main newspaper, the Nodongshinmun, praised the late founder and urged the country to depend completely on him until the end, another move to solidify Kim Jong-un's grip on power. The paper also cited the importance of Kim Jong-un's push for what he calls self-reliant economic growth, which he stressed at the Supreme People's Assembly last week. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has made big remarks at the parliamentary gathering last week, which gave us some clues on the North's stance on the current nuclear impasse. Our Unification Ministry correspondent Oh Jung-hee talked to some experts to find out Kim's motive behind his latest words.
North Korea aims to survive on its own throughout this year, but is hoping that its negotiations with the U.S. resume soon. That's how experts assess North Korea after Kim Jong-un's address at the North Supreme People's Assembly last week. Kim has said he's okay with a follow-up summit with the U.S. if they can reach a compromise. But he stressed there's no need to obsess over it or be desperate to get the sanctions lifted. Rather, Kim said he'll wait patiently until the end of this year to see what the U.S. decides. A South Korean security think tank says the North may ask for concessions other than sanctions relief to try and get the talks going again.
North Korea would be hoping to resume the negotiations or hold a summit with the U.S. before the year ends. But it knows that the U.S. won't lift the sanctions, so it feels the need to come up with new corresponding measures it wants from the U.S. Those could be declaring an end to the Korean War, eliminating the military threat, or guaranteeing the regime's security.
Plus, they pointed out that the North Korean leader has further cemented his grip on power, possibly revising the constitution as well.
Kim Jong-un has been named the supreme representative of all the Korean people and the chairman of the State Affairs Commission, the top leader of our republic.
There are different ideas about the meaning of Kim's new title, the supreme representative of all the Korean people. Some say Kim now doubles as the nominal head of state instead of the president of parliament's presidium. But others say Kim is representing the whole North Korean people rather than a certain district, especially since it's not included among the parliament's deputies.
I believe the North Korea ceremonial leader could now be Kim Jong-un, not the president of Supreme People's Assembly Presidium. I think they have officially stated Kim's post as the very top one and stipulated this in the Constitution.
The security think tank also noted that the North's 5-year economic development plan that was to end next year could evaporate as international sanctions are taking a toll. Oh Jung-hee, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, the possibility of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's visit to Russia is emerging again. Many reports point to his summit with Putin sometime this month. Our Kang Young-woo reports.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un could be making his first visit to Russia next week for a summit with President Vladimir Putin. According to a source familiar with Pyeongyang-Moscow relations, Putin is expected to take part in a domestic event in the Russian Far East next Wednesday, and the potential North Korea-Russia summit that has been up in the air for a while could take place there. The source said that on his way to attend Beijing's One Belt, One Road Forum at the end of next week, Putin could meet Kim Jong-un. Another source said a Kim-Putin summit is highly likely to take place either before or after the Beijing Forum, citing that North Korea has been seen making preparations for such an event. Diplomatic experts had been speculating that Kim, who has visited China 4 times already, would also visit North Korea's ally Russia, after the Hanoi summit with Trump in February did not see any agreements. In March, North Korean Protocol Chief Kim Chang-sun spent about a week visiting Moscow and Vladivostok, stirring up the possibility of the North Korean leader's visit to Russia. but neither side has officially confirmed anything about the possible meeting between Kim and Trump. Earlier this month, Russia's presidential aide Yuri Wuskov confirmed that an invitation has been handed over to the North and that Russia is waiting for a response from Pyongyang. Should the North Korea-Russia summit take place, it would be the first meeting between Kim and Putin, as well as the first summit between Pyongyang and Moscow since 2011. Kanyong-woo, Arirang News.
Now let's turn to some big economic news coming out of Korea. Kumho Asiana Group has decided to sell its 1/3 stake in Korea's #2 carrier, Asiana Airlines, to help offset some $3 billion it owes to financial institutions. The firm has been struggling to revamp its management since its chairman stepped down last month, and its original self-rescue plan was rejected by creditors last week. Kim Dae-mi has more.
In a bid to get some kind of financial support from its creditors, Kumho Asiana Group submitted a new self-rescue proposal on Monday, which includes the sale of its flagship airline unit. The group said the board of Kumho Engineering and Construction has decided to sell off its 33.47% stake in Asiana Airlines, valued at over $300 million. Asiana Airlines accounts for 60% of Kumho Asiana Group's total sales, so its sale will come as a blow. Once the airline is sold, Kumho Asiana Group will become a medium-sized business with just Kumho Engineering and Construction, Kumho Bus Lines, and Kumho Petrochemical remaining.
The decision to sell the airline shows that former chairman Park Sam-koo and his family have failed to assure their creditors that they can normalize the business or take care of the huge debts.
Kumho Asiana's previously proposed self-rescue plan included handing over the founding family's stakes as a collateral and a pledge to sell off the airline unit if it failed to meet creditors' demands in 3 years, but was rejected by creditors last week who said it failed to show sincerity. If the new self-rescue plan is accepted, Kumho Asiana can proceed with the sale process, including selecting interested bidders. Market analysts predict that the sale of the successful airline won't be an issue. SK Group, Hanwha, and CJ Group are already being named as potential buyers. Kim Dae-mi, Arirang News.
Now, with the fine dust problem continuing to grip the nation, Seoul City has announced new measures to try and tackle the issue. Citizens, however, are not happy and they're continuing to call for more active countermeasures. Kim Mo-gyun reports.
With March recording the worst fine dust pollution on record in Seoul, the city government unveiled a list of measures it will take to try and tackle the issue. Compared to 2016, the fine dust and ultra-fine dust problem has worsened at concerning levels, especially in densely populated areas such as Seoul and Gyeonggi-do Province. In a bid to combat the problem, high-emission vehicles will be restricted from entering the center of Seoul beginning in July. Seoul City also plans to cooperate with private delivery companies to replace about 100,000 motorcycles by 2025 and distribute 1,000 electronic motorcycles to franchises by the end of this year. Mid-sized town buses that run on diesel and school buses for young children will also gradually be switched to electric buses. The city also plans to cut household emissions by replacing 900,000 old heaters with eco-friendly models by 2022. However, concerned citizens say that this is not enough.
Citizens gathered in front of Seoul's Gwanghwamun Square on Monday afternoon in the latest protest calling for the government to come up with more concrete measures to tackle the nation's worst fine dust crisis.
The first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is check the fine dust levels. I hope the government can adopt the measures they announced as soon as possible.
I think there is progress on reduction efforts, but I believe more could be done so that my children can live in a country where they can breathe freely.
The government's measures seem very helpful, but I think we need to come up with a fundamental solution and find the root of the problem.
Although acknowledging the government's efforts to cope with the fine dust issue, concerned citizens continue to call for more aggressive steps in hopes of clearing South Korean skies. Kim Mo-gyun, Arirang News.
The Moon Jae-in administration is seeking to better people's lives by creating facilities for people to enjoy. It's part of a 3-year plan that will see increased sports centres, public libraries and daycare centres. Kim Min-ji reports.
The Korean government will be pumping in some 30 trillion won, or about $26.5 billion in infrastructure projects over the next 3 years to improve people's daily lives and make them more convenient. Broadly, they will cover 3 areas: leisure facilities, care centers for children and the elderly, and public safety. First, funding for leisure facilities to the tune of around $12.8 billion will be used to add more than 400 public sports centers and more than 50 public libraries. The plan is for such facilities to be within 10 minutes or about 4 kilometers of everybody. Another area is increasing the scope of care services. Some $2.6 billion will be used to set up new public childcare facilities to allow more people to take advantage of the services. The government will also more than double the number of public nursing homes to make sure there's one in every district. Last but not least, $11.1 billion will be set aside to create a safe and clean living environment. That includes improving the country's ability to fight and prevent fires, especially in public buildings. Also on the list, reducing fine dust pollution by building new forests for recreation and cutting down on traffic accidents by improving the roads.
Before the Moon Jae-in administration ends in 2022, the government will expand infrastructure related to people's daily lives. This will help achieve its vision of a country where people can enjoy quality lives wherever they are.
The government hopes that the new plan will foster a culture of work-life balance, a goal reflected already in its push for a 52-hour work week in a country known for notoriously long working hours. On top of that, it's also expected to have a positive economic impact, with the government expecting to create some 200,000 new jobs. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Now, there's more gloomy outlooks for the local economy. The manufacturing sector, a key driver of the local economy, is slowing down. Now, that is according to a report from the Korea Chamber of Commerce. Kim Hye-sung has the details.
A recent report shows Korea is losing its manufacturing sector competitiveness, which is heavily reliant on its top 10 exports. According to the Korea Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Korea's top 10 exports accounted for nearly 47% of total exports as of 2017, more than 10 percentage points higher than Japan, China, Germany, and the U.S., showing Korea's high reliance on a small number of export sectors. Korea's top 10 exports have seen little change in the past decade, with 8 of the top 10 exports in 2007 also in the list for 2017. Computer parts and monitors were replaced by organic chemicals and special vessels like offshore rigs. By comparison, China saw 4 of its top 10 exports change, Germany saw 3, Japan and the U.S. 2 each. Of the world's top 5 fastest-growing manufacturing sectors, refined petroleum, telecommunications, medicine, non-ferrous metals, and precision machinery, Korea saw its global production market share in telecommunications, medicine, and non-ferrous metals drop in 2016 compared to 1995. But in the top 5 declining industries, namely paper manufacturing, fibers, special machinery, clothes, and home appliances, Korea saw an increase in global market share for all 4 sectors other than fibers. Since recording $1.33 trillion in 2012, Korea's manufacturing GDP size has started to fall, recording $1.25 trillion in 2016. The report recommended that Korea should invest more in growing manufacturing sectors and new industries like games and content. Kim Hye-sung, Arirang News.
Now, earlier this month, Korea launched its super-fast 5G network to great fanfare here at home, but now there is a growing number of complaints from consumers. Oh Soo-young explains.
Is the wow factor already wearing off for 5G mobile users? In the week since the country launched the wireless network for mobile phone subscribers, more than 100,000 have switched to 5G handsets and monthly plans.
But it seems they are far from impressed. There's growing criticism that mobile carriers are failing to deliver their promise of a super-fast and seamless user experience.
The biggest complaint has been the severely limited access to 5G. There are only around 85,000 5G base stations installed throughout the country, nearly 86% of which are concentrated in Seoul and 5 other major cities. Users say connections have been shaky at best, even in central Seoul, forcing them to fall back on the LTE network. The lack of connectivity is not the only issue. Seemingly moderately priced, totally unlimited data plans offered by carriers KT and LGU Plus have also come under fire. What had been advertised as unlimited was actually subject to restrictions after hitting certain thresholds. This clause in the fine print has now been removed following much criticism. Still, that hasn't quelled suspicions that the apparently generous conditions may be designed to make LTE users upgrade to 5G, despite what seems to have been a premature launch of the network. With their half-baked pricing tactics and grandiose marketing, experts say telecom companies are missing the point.
If the experience is good enough, consumers will be willing to pay more for 5G subscriptions. But there's not enough optimized content. Carriers need to develop strong, diverse content using features like augmented reality and virtual reality that provide a sensational user experience. Without that, high speed and lower prices lack appeal.
In the meantime, it seems consumers have no choice but to wait for 5G to catch up.
We are at the first stage of 5G coverage, with base stations first installed in densely populated areas. When introducing 4G, carriers provided both 3G and 4G networks for a smooth transition. The same goes for 5G. However, there was high anticipation for full 5G coverage, so consumers were bound to be disappointed.
Given the higher data capacity and installation costs compared to 3G or 4G networks, industry experts say it will take 2 to 3 years for the whole country to be fully covered by a 5G network that could provide a truly seamless user experience. 오수영, Arirang News.
Korean mega group BTS broke another record on YouTube with their latest music video. Released last Friday, the group's new music video became the fastest ever video to surpass 100 million views. Our Lee Min-sun has the story.
The latest music video by K-pop boyband BTS became the fastest ever video on YouTube to reach 100 million views on Sunday morning, just a day and a half after its release on Friday evening. The group's new title track, Boy With Love, broke the previous record set only 10 days ago by K-pop girl group Blackpink with their song Kill This Love. The video for Boy With Love has over 127 million views as of 5 p.m. Monday Korean time, and is the 18th BTS video to surpass 100 million views. Their most viewed songs so far are DNA and Fake Love, which have exceeded 700 million and 500 million views respectively. BTS released their new 7-track album Map of the Soul Persona last Friday. The title song has reached 3rd spot on a key chart of Spotify, the largest digital streaming platform in the world. The group are set to perform at the Billboard Music Awards again this year. Their agency announced on Monday that BTS will perform their new title song with American singer Halsey on May 1st. It's the second year that the K-pop stars will appear at the US awards show. BTS have been nominated for the Top Duo/Group and Top Social Artist categories this year. The group previously won the Top Social Artist Award in 2017 and 2018. Lee Min-sun, Arirang News.
South Korea's non-performing loans ratio peaked at 13% in late 1999 after the country went through a financial crisis. But as of last month, that ratio had dropped to just over 1%. South Korea is now hosting a seminar to share its knowledge with Kazakhstan. Our Cha Sang-mi has more.
The Korea Asset Management Corporation is hosting officials from Kazakhstan to pass down its knowledge on non-performing loans, or NPLs. An NPL is loan on which the borrower is not making interest payments or repaying any principal, and a high NPL ratio can have a serious impact on a developing country. The week-long seminar is being sponsored by the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, an international institution of which South Korea serves as an important donor. And a board director from the EBRD says this is one of the reasons South Korea is qualified to share its knowledge.
Our country is the only country in the world that went through a status change from a recipient to a donor nation. By transferring knowledge and experience of our country's economic development, I believe the status of our country will be expanded within the international community.
Kazakhstan has seen a sharp decrease in its NPL ratio since it marked a staggering 33% in June of 2013. As of March this year, it was down to 8.3%. But the head of risks at the National Bank of Kazakhstan expressed hopes for lowering the NPL ratio even more.
NBK still believes this level is high, and we need to work on it. For we had quite significant drop down. Oil market and commodity market prices dropped down, and as you know, Kazakhstan still dependent on commodity market prices.
Although Mr. Izbasarov said Kazakhstan has no set ratio in mind, it hopes to follow in South Korea's footsteps. Taesangmi, Arirang News.
To help tackle cyberbullying and spread positivity online, Arirang TV has linked up with a non-governmental organization that spreads positive comments on online messaging boards. Arirang TV signed an MOU with the Sunfull Movement on Monday to give courage and hope to young people through posting positive messages and preventing the spread of false information against individuals on the channel. Since 2007, the organization has been sending messages of hope to the victims of disasters around the world and has worked to counter online bullying and hate speech.
Sales at local duty-free stores hit a new monthly high in March, surpassing the 2 trillion won mark for the first time. Industry data also show that domestic duty-free stores have been setting new monthly records since the start of the year. The rise comes despite China's new taxes on small-scale vendors who sell their duty-free purchases to consumers back home. The US and Japan are set to start 2 days of trade talks in Washington on Monday. US Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer will lead the discussions with Japan's Economy Minister Toshimitsu Motegi. Tokyo is expected to focus on trading goods, while the US is hoping for more comprehensive talks, including services. President Trump has frequently complained that Japan has an unfair advantage in bilateral trade. South Korea's trade minister has vowed new measures to boost exports from local semiconductor firms. In a meeting Monday with industry representatives, Yoo Myung-hee said the government will help local semiconductor design and production companies find clients abroad. Specific details were not announced, but the ministry said it would hold 3 trade fairs this year in China, Thailand and Korea. The government also plans to support research and development in the field of system-on-chips used in AI and IoT products to boost competitiveness overall. Only 1 in 10 unmarried Koreans are said to feel strongly about having a wedding ceremony if or when they do tie the knot. According to a survey by the Korea Institute for Health and Social Affairs, of nearly 2,500 unmarried Koreans between the ages of 20 and 44, about 44% of men and 34% of women said they generally agreed on the need for a wedding. However, only 14.5% of men and nearly 11% of women felt strongly about having one. The institute added that the results show Koreans are putting more emphasis on their own life choices rather than traditional values. That has been your 3-minute news flash. It is now time to take a look at some of the digital media content available on Arirang's website and other social media platforms.
And today, Justin from Win in Korea or Wink shows us how to enjoy the spring season at Seoul's Hangang Park.
Smells good. Do you guys hear that? It's the sound of spring. Woo! What's up, guys? Spring is in the air. As you can see, spring is all over us, which is why I'm at Hangang Park, which is the perfect place to spend the day during the spring. Let's go. You good? 한강에 오실 때 보통 뭐 하고 오세요, 주로?
배달 음식을 시켜 먹거나
배달 음식.
벚꽃 축제.
벚꽃 축제. Okay, so 꽃.
꽃이 필 때 남자친구랑 같이 오세요.
남친구 있으세요? 아 죄송해요. 여기까지. 안녕하세요.
네,
혹시 한강 자주 오세요?
봄마다.
봄마다.
네. 한강 좀 보면서 이제 마음 좀 힐링시키고.
한 잔 하셨나요?
네, 맥주 한 캔 먹고 이제 두
한 캔?
캔째.
두 캔째. 특별한 날이에요?
생일이요.
아 생일이에요? 생일 축하합니다. 그러면 한강에 오실 때 뭐 주로?
꽃 구경하고
꽃 구경.
뭐 마시고 하면서 떠들면서 노는 것 같아요.
떠들고. 오. As you just saw, I came here with nothing. I didn't bring a tent or anything, and you can actually order your own tent, and then they even install it for you too. Okay guys, so the tent is finally done. Welcome to my humble abode. So let me show you something else. When you think of a picnic, what do you usually think of? You think of preparing food, right? Look at all these menus. See, this is all the food that you can actually order when you come. So you don't even have to bring your own food. There is a delivery zone, which is kind of like an information stand where you can go and they'll tell you what foods that you can order when you're at Hangang. 네, 여기 여의나루 한강공원 배달 존 2번인데요. 춘천 닭갈비 중 하나 주세요. Ordering a lot of food. Okay, so as you guys can all see, the food is finally here. It smells delicious. I'm so hungry. We have some Chinese fast food over here. And we have 닭갈비, which is amazing that you can order 닭갈비 in the middle of nowhere at Hangang Park. And yeah, we have some different varieties of kimbap. And some chicken, 반반 chicken. So the best part about a picnic, no matter where you are, is that you can enjoy your food with the people around you, right? Let's eat. Okay guys, thanks so much for watching Wink. This is how you hang out when you're in Korea at Hangang for a picnic, and I'll see you all next week.
We saw plenty of sunshine this afternoon with conditions feeling very warm.
That's right. But unfortunately, dry weather has also returned. For more, let's turn to our Michelle Park at the Weather Centre. Michelle, what is the latest?
Hi guys, now the warm weather may be pleasant, but like you said, unfortunately it's brought with it dry conditions. Now many places around the country, including Seoul, have been issued with dry weather advisories, so please take care, especially when conducting any activities related to fire. Now today, Tuesday, will be mostly warm and cloudy across the nation, but rain showers will come down on Jeju and some of the southern coast. Now surrounding Northeast Asian countries can expect sunny spells. And tomorrow's morning, temperatures won't be too chilly. Seoul's low will be at 7 degrees Celsius, while Busan and Jeju can expect 11 degrees. Due to the warm northwesterly wind, the highs will hit above seasonal average. Seoul will hit up to 21 degrees. Now, Jeju will be wet until Wednesday and can expect the rain to return again on Sunday. And meanwhile, the rest of the country will stay mild throughout the week. I'll leave you with the weather conditions around the world.
Well, that wraps it up for this edition of Arirang News. Thank you as always for watching.
I'll be back with news in depth in just a few minutes to discuss post-Washington summit developments with an expert. So don't go away.
Daily news you need to know.
Breathing life into stories.
Be implemented as the medical.
Arirang News leading the charge.
The final round.
Your fear is cloud hanging overhead.
Your #1 source for domestic and global news. Big developments are engulfing the peninsula following Moon-Trump summit last week. President Moon Jae-in has officially proposed the 4th Inter-Korean summit, saying he wants to talk whenever North Korea is ready, regardless of time and place. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, during his policy speech last week, has hinted at the possibility of a third